just got shot, you know, and he in ICU. I say, 50 what?
The moment 50 Cent finally spoke on how Gene Deal saved his life, the whole culture froze like, hold on, why are we just hearing this now? Because this wasn't some light situation. This wasn't a casual warning or a simple heads up. This was one of those moments that could have shifted the entire direction of hip-hop. A moment where one wrong move, one wrong second, one wrong turn could have meant the world losing 50 before he ever became the force he is today. And according to 50, the only reason he's still alive is because Gene Deal stepped in at the exact moment and made a call nobody else had the heart to make. When 50 laid it all out, you could hear it in his voice. This was deep. This was real. And this was something he had been carrying with him for years. To really understand why this moment held so much weight, you got to look at the era it happened in. 50 Cent wasn't just another hungry rapper trying to climb up.
And they are now where?
Oh, the guy who actually shot me is dead. The guy who pays him got life in jail.
Got life in jail.
He was a target in the streets, a threat to certain industry players, and a problem for people who didn't want to see him rise. The music game back then wasn't soft. It wasn't Twitter fingers and IG subliminals. It was real pressure, real beef, real enemies who wouldn't hesitate to take you out if it meant protecting their position. 50 was moving through a world where one bad conversation or one wrong alliance could finish everything, and everybody around him understood that. That's why Gene Deal mattered. He wasn't a rapper. He wasn't some artist chasing clout. He was an industry watchdog, a man who'd seen every setup, every trap, every snake move a business could possibly throw. So when Gene Deal pulled 50 to the side, when he gave him that warning,
The day 50 Cent was shot, I was walking through, and BMF was there too. Meechnam was there too.
Who has more cred than you, living after being shot 9 fucking times?
I don't know what the criteria are for street credibility. Or
That's it.
If there's something that creates more merit for you. I looked at that experience as something that was unfortunate that I had to experience.
I forget, why the guy shot you 9 times? Was it drugs or something?
He was paid to do it.
He was paid to do it.
when he told him exactly what was happening behind the scenes, it wasn't guessing. It wasn't paranoia. It was coming from a man with real intel, real experience, someone who had watched what happened to artists who ignored the signs. Gene knew who was plotting. Gene knew the motive. And he knew 50's life was in danger in a way 50 hadn't fully wrapped his head around yet. This wasn't about beef. This wasn't about music. This was straight-up survival. 50 said Gene didn't sugarcoat a single thing. He told him directly that certain people weren't just talking. They were moving. That individuals who smiled in rooms were planning something completely different outside them. That there was a whole strategy forming to take him out of the picture before he ever had the chance to blow. And 50, being young and hungry, didn't understand how deep the political game went. He thought he was playing chess, but Gene had already studied the entire board. The wildest part is how Gene put his own position on the line by even speaking up. Most people in his spot would have stayed silent, protected their job, protected their ties to the powerful players. But Gene wasn't built for that. He believed in loyalty, in honesty, in looking a man in the eye and telling him the truth even if it caused heat. And that choice, that split-second decision, is what kept 50 Cent alive long enough to become the icon we know today. And when 50 finally opened up about it, the whole culture felt the shift, because the details only get crazier from here. As 50 kept breaking down the moment Gene Deal stepped in, he made it clear this wasn't some casual heads-up.
Karma. Explain to me again why this guy was hired to shoot you 9 times.
Well, you was paid because someone, felt like that I would potentially do something to them if they kept going in the direction that they were going.
And you are tough.
This was a full breakdown of a setup that could have ended everything before Get Rich or Die Trying ever touched the streets. He explained that Gene wasn't moving off gossip or instinct. He was moving off real intel from people inside the industry who knew exactly what certain individuals were plotting. Gene had been around long enough to recognize how artists get lined up, how jealousy turns into danger, and how silent enemies move in the shadows. He'd seen careers collapse, lives destroyed, and artists blindsided by people they thought were allies. So when he recognized the same pattern forming around 50, he knew instantly what it meant. 50 said Gene walked up on him with the seriousness of a man who'd watched this play out too many times. He didn't soften the blow or try to ease into the conversation. He told 50 straight up that certain people around him were not his friends. They were watching him too closely, asking too many questions, making moves that didn't match the energy in their smiles. Gene made it clear that some people didn't want to see him rise, didn't want to see him build momentum, and were threatened by the idea of him becoming bigger than anybody expected. And in that era, 50 wasn't just buzzing. He was shaking the whole system with a mixtape run so raw it made the entire industry uncomfortable. He said he knew Gotti and them had put it out there like they were part of it, that things could have gone down that night at the meeting. Gene saw that tension building and knew it was only a matter of time before someone tried to stop 50 permanently. So he warned him about specific people, specific rooms, specific situations that were no longer safe to walk into. He told him to stop pulling up to certain spots, stop trusting certain conversations, and stop giving the wrong people access to his movement. Gene wasn't talking from fear. He was talking from experience. He knew how the industry rewards silence and punishes honesty, so by opening his mouth, he was risking everything he had. 50 said that moment completely changed the way he moved. Gene's warning made him look at who truly respected him, and who was secretly intimidated by him. He stopped pulling up to certain studios, backed out of certain deals, and cut off the people who smiled in his face but whispered behind his back. Suddenly, he started noticing the snakes in real time. And the crazy part? Once 50 adjusted how he moved, all the weird energy around him started revealing itself one by one. People slipping, exposing themselves, proving Gene had been right the entire time. When they got up there, he said they walked in and there were Navy SEAL level security watching every angle, probably 6 of them in total. And when you've been hurt that badly, it either makes fear swallow you whole or turns you emotionally numb. He said there was a point when he really felt fear, real fear, even if he didn't show it. And as he kept talking, it became clear that Gene didn't just save his life. He saved his entire future. Without that warning, 50 might have walked straight into something he could never walk back out of. What made it even deeper was how Gene never bragged, never chased credit, never tried to use that moment as leverage over 50. He kept it tucked away until the right time, never asking for anything in return. And 50 said that loyalty, that silence, that integrity meant more to him than anything else. As the story unfolded, 50 started breaking down the deeper connection between Gene Deal and the world they were navigating. Gene wasn't just some industry figure. He had lived through some of the heaviest moments in New York hip-hop history. He was there during the Bad Boy era, right in the middle of label tensions, security politics, and the unspoken rules that govern crews and insiders. He saw firsthand how dangerous the environment could get when egos, money, and power collided. So when he noticed the warning signs around 50, he didn't hesitate. He knew exactly how fast a situation could go sideways. 50 described Gene as someone who could read danger from a mile away. He could tell when someone was lying just by their posture in a room, know when a meeting wasn't safe by who showed up, and sense when an artist was being set up just by the energy around them. Seeing the same red flags around 50, Gene took action, even when it wasn't his job. That's what made the moment so powerful. Gene's intervention wasn't business, it was personal. What made things even crazier was how accurate Gene's warning proved to be. As 50 distanced himself from the people Gene flagged, he began uncovering conversations happening behind his back. People were plotting to derail his career, sabotage opportunities, and paint him as too risky to support. Some were even trying to set him up in the streets. Others wanted to tie him to problems he had no part in. The deeper 50 looked, the more he realized he had been surrounded by people who didn't want him alive long enough to reach his full potential. Gene's warning didn't just protect him physically, it protected him mentally. It changed the way he trusted people, sharpened his paranoia, and made him more strategic. That famous "I don't trust nobody" attitude didn't come out of nowhere. Moments like this shaped him. Gene Deal was one of the few who earned 50's respect by keeping it real when most were scheming. 50 explained that Gene's honesty showed him the difference between real loyalty and fake loyalty. Real loyalty protects you when you aren't in the room. Fake loyalty pretends to have your back when camera's on, but disappears when danger arrives. Gene didn't disappear. He stood up, and that changed everything. 50 also explained why it took him so long to reveal the story. Back then, talking about moments like this could have sparked the wrong reactions, exposed the wrong people, or reopened situations better left alone. But now, with years behind him, he feels comfortable telling the truth. Giving Gene his flowers while he's still here mattered more than waiting. Too many in hip-hop wait until someone is gone to acknowledge their impact. 50 refused to do that. He wanted Gene to know his gratitude now, not someday. The ripple effect of Gene's decision echoed through every stage of 50 Cent's career, shaping the man and the legend he became. Without that warning, 50 might have ended up as another tragic headline, another artist cut down before he hit his prime. But because Gene stepped in, we witnessed a rap empire built from the ground up. We saw G-Unit dominate an entire era. We saw 50 transition into film, television, business, and generational wealth. And all of it traces back to a moment when one man refused to stay silent. 50 said he'll never forget the tone Gene used when he told him the truth. It wasn't fear. It wasn't panic. It was conviction. The kind of conviction that comes from someone who genuinely cares about your future. And when you're young, hungry, and navigating the industry alone, someone caring about your future is rare. That's why 50 calls Gene Deal a real one. Not because of rumors, not because of street legends, but because he acted when it mattered most. By the time 50 finished telling the story, fans were shocked, emotional, and piecing together how close the world came to losing one of hip-hop's most influential figures. And the wildest part? Gene Deal never once tried to use this moment for clout. He kept it quiet. He protected the story the same way he protected 50. That's the definition of loyalty. 50 Cent revealing how Gene Deal saved his life wasn't just storytelling. It was a reminder that behind every legend, there's someone whose actions shaped the path. In 50's case, Gene Deal was that someone, a man whose honesty, instinct, and courage prevented a tragedy and allowed one of the greatest runs in hip-hop history to ever happen. Every empire, every move, every success 50 had can be traced back to that intervention. It wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was a single decision made at the right moment by a person who understood the stakes. And that's why, when we talk about loyalty, vision, and survival in hip-hop, Gene Deal's name belongs at the top. The story isn't just about 50. It's about the people who stand in the shadows, whose choices ripple through history without the world ever knowing.